What's up, Fortnite fam? All the qualifiers for this season's FNCS have wrapped up, and we're going to use this opportunity to compare and contrast some of the major broadcast regions to see what you can expect in each of the semi-finals, finals, and of course in future seasons too. Starting off with EU, this region is often referred to as the hardest region, given its incredible player count and depth of talent, but it's also the region where teamwork is the most important. EU had only 11 players this week with a solo impact score of over 20, which is close to half of any other region. Now this may sound like a bad thing, however this just meant that on the EU region way more points were gained during the qualifier when all three players of the trio were still up, rather than when all of the players were as a duo or a solo. The best example of this is Analyst, Fortnite and Xwiz, who won qualifier 3 with an earth-shattering 234 points. Only 18 of these points came with the player down. Yes, you heard that right, 92% of their points were accrued when all three team members were still in the game. In other regions, you may be able to get away with some huge solo plays, but if you want to compete with the best of the best on the biggest region, individual skill alone will not cut it, and you're going to have to work efficiently as a team.
If you've ever watched an NA East event, you know that drop spots and fighting over these are always a key part of the storyline. Players from NA East region are notoriously protective over their drop spot. In NA East Qualifier 1, only 2 teams switched their drop spot when contested, in comparison to Europe's 8. So that has some interesting side effects in comparison to other regions outside of hilarious tweets. For example, in Qualifier 3, D-Roller and Spegu, who were landing at the dockside dish, aka the Cami split, won game number 2. This was the first time on the region that a game was won from a contested drop spot. And since they've been contested here every week, that's pretty impressive. The game after that, Macwood, Illist, and Tragics picked up the victory royale. They too were contested off spawn by Pgod, Peterbot, and TK. This fight happened week after week, but so far, despite these teams being top picks for many people, neither netted a top 3. The victory royale, however, was on the only game that Macwood, Illist, and Tragics won the off spawn battle in Qualifier 3. While they did continue the trend of teams being able to capitalize on being contested in individual matches, it didn't translate well to the overall leaderboards. Finally, we have the NA West region. While it is the lowest in population out of the 3, it actually has the highest storm surge requirements. Usually what we see on smaller population regions is a faster paced gameplay with more aggression. But in the FNCS lobbies, NA West tends to be more calculated and slow. This slow-paced gameplay often results in huge demands on players for Storm Surge. And once the first warning appears, players below the threshold go into overdrive, and that's when the true aggression begins. However, we saw in Qualifier 3 that because of West being a smaller region, mixed with the top teams already securing a spot in the finals, the pace of the games shifted. Many teams became considerably more aggressive in the early game, which caused the first Storm Surge threshold to have significantly less impact on the players remaining.
With this season's FNCS qualifiers now over, look out for some of these trademark playstyles to each of the regions in the semifinals, reboot round, and of course, the finals. Until then, we'll see you on the battle bus. Beep beep!